Hi, I'm Life Coach Landry, and the topic is anxiety symptoms, 5 signs you have an anxiety disorder and not just symptoms. Everybody goes to the job and has the date jitters, but when does anxiety become less of an occasional feeling and more of an everyday get in your way kind of thing? According to the CDC, Centers for Disease and Control Prevention, anxiety disorders are characterized by excessive and unrealistic worrying over everyday tasks. So, what does that mean for you? Are you the type of person that suffers from random symptoms of anxiety, or are you one of those people that you think you have an anxiety disorder, but you really don't? You just have symptoms. Okay. I'm going to go over 5 symptoms, though. If you have the majority of these, especially the last 3, you actually may have a disorder and you may need some medication, or you may just need to see somebody, behavioral specialists and things like that can help you with those kind of things, or a life coach, obviously. Number 1 is excessive worrying. Most people probably have some sort of this. This doesn't mean you have anxiety disorder, but it is one of the symptoms, and it's a common one, and it's the first sign of them. So it's important that I bring it up because it's one of those things where it can be a sign with depression and things like that. But everybody in some capacity, it's very natural to respond with anxiety in some kind of capacity in your life. So you shouldn't be alarmed right away when something like this pops up, because there's also something called generalized anxiety disorder, known as GAD, G-A-D, and it's a pretty common term used, and it's used for people usually when they start off in the very beginning stages. Anxiety. So if you're just one of those people that you excessively worry all the time, maybe it's not just because you're a parent or you're a good girlfriend or boyfriend, or somebody that's very detail orientated. It could be because it's starting to lead into a disorder, which will lead us into number 2, trouble sleeping. Okay, for people with anxiety disorders, lack of proper sleep can be an everyday sign of regular stress. It may not be anxiety. However, there's a clinic and clinical studies that list symptoms like fatigue, irritability are common contenders with those with generalized anxiety disorder. So it's not uncommon to have irritability and restless nights from time to time. But again, these things should not be a part of your regular routine. That could also, because if they are, and you're walking out every day and you're irritable and you're walking out every day and of your house and you're going to work and you're just, man, I'm always fatigued, I'm never having enough sleep, and maybe because you have excessive worrying going on, it's leading into your sleep, which is turning into anxiety, which is starting to become a disorder. Okay, number 3, and this is a much bigger sign of disorders, is if you have frequent panic attacks. Okay, if you have panic attacks, it means you are an anxiety-driven person. And when I say panic attacks, meaning you're having 1 to 2 a month. This is a regular thing for you. If even more than that, you need to seek medical help if you're having them that often. That could be just you have a major anxiety disorder, not just a minor one. Okay. If a person often, experiences a true panic attack, like I said, seek medical help. Cancel the video, go get help. But if you have they come up a little bit, but you're able to calm yourself down, it doesn't mean you shouldn't, go see a doctor or talk to someone who can help you with your behaviors. But it means you may have a disorder. You got to remember, the National Institute of Mental Health, NIH, defines things as, sudden periods of really intense fear. They can almost paralyze you, give you heart palpitations. That's a true sign of a panic attack. Not just all of a sudden you can't breathe a little bit, or you get a little overwhelmed and you got to take a step back. That's just, one of those life handling processes. But if it's really intense, if your breathing becomes hard to control, if your heart feels a little bit thin and you gain a lot of fear, that's a true sign of a panic attack. Okay. And that's a true sign of a disorder. But if it's a irrational fear, which is a real part of anxiety disorders, irrational fears and phobias are things that fall in categories of someone with a phobia that's just uncomfortable with certain situations no matter what's going on. So if you go to particular places, events, and things like that, and they trigger powerful fearful feelings, that's an anxiety disorder. That's not just I don't like going to concerts, or I don't like if you get around a crowd of people, if you have to go to an event where maybe you've got to talk a little bit or something, or maybe you'll be noticed. If you like to be the one that's never seen, you don't want people, that's because you suffer from some form of anxiety. Now remember, having a moment of anxiety does not equal a disorder. A disorder means this happens to you frequently, at least once to 3 times a week, if not more. If it's you're about to give a big speech, or you gotta talk at a funeral, those are normal things to have anxiety about. Those aren't disorders. Those are symptoms. Everybody has those, even the best of us. Okay. Number 5, which is the most, that combined with panic attacks and fear, these last 3 are real concrete. Number 5 is feeling judged or rejected. If you're walking around constantly thinking that people are judging you, looking at you, and saying things about you, and I don't mean in a work environment where people know you, but just in general, you're walking in public where people have no idea who you are, yet you still feel judged and you still feel like you're being rejected in their mind, even though you're not interacting with them, then that's a big sign towards a disorder, okay? A lot of people get nervous or face some degree of stage fright when faced with large crowds, like I said, speech or big presentations, but those with social, disorders have a fear of social performance. Let's just categorize it like that. A person may feel embarrassed, judged, rejected, or fearful, especially of offending other people. If you're one of those people, you're constantly worried about offending other people, then you have anxiety. And you have anxiety deeply rooted into you, because now you're judging every single word and movement that comes out of your body. You should never be thinking that in detail or that obsessively about what's going on with yourself, okay? People with anxiety disorders often worry weeks and months prior to events, interviews, things like that, that at some point you should have kind of come to a calm about it, or you're a little bit nervous, but when it's time to turn on the lights, you're ready to go. But if it's paralyzing you to where you can't sleep, you're getting panic attacks, and you can't stop thinking about it weeks in advance, you probably have a disorder, okay? And you need to find ways to deal with that. And behavioral symptoms can usually be worked on with a life coach or a behavioral therapist in clinical psychology, cognitive psychology, and things like that. But anxiety does affect everybody, but there are different degrees in which it can affect you. There are degrees that are considered normal and degrees that are debilitating, that literally will keep you from doing what other people succeed at, not because you're not capable, because anxiety is a filter over you that doesn't ever let you get to where other people can get to. And if that's going on, that's something you want to work on, because that's holding you back from progress and a lot of your goals, dating, commitment, promotions at work, going to environments that are unknown to you where you feel fearful or not safe and things like that. Work on those things. I guarantee you, if you break through those things, you'll feel a lot better. You'll get a lot more accomplished. If these are things you want to work on personally with me, you can contact me at the link below, and I'll work personally with you on these things. And there are a lot of things we can do to get you past these kind of things. I have tons of clients that suffer from these kind of things, and they've all made progress. And the grass is greener on the other side of that fence in that particular situation, for sure. But if you just found this video, helpful towards what you're trying to figure out, whether you have a symptom or an actual disorder, you can show appreciation by clicking on the donation link below. And I will talk to you soon.